Hello, everyone. Welcome to Casey's Corner. My name is Casey Kendall, brought to you by Prosperity North Advisors here in the 1010 studios in Gilbert, Arizona. Joining me today on Casey's Corner, Brandon Drake from The Lead Drop, and you're in Gilbert.
That's right.
As well. Awesome.
Yep.
Perfect. Brandon, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you taking some time.
Oh, was so excited for this moment to be able to come on Casey's Corner. I saw some other videos and I was like, I definitely have to get on Casey's Corner because love what you do.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So this is about you, and you and I have been working together for a little while now. I've learned a little bit about your business, but please share what the Lead Drop does, how you got started. Give us a little bit of background on what you're doing.
Yeah. The Lead Drop is focused on helping businesses grow. And what that specifically means is we want to increase their revenues, which doing so means they can now expand their business. They can hire more employees. It's kind of a butterfly effect where that's really kind of going into our why. I'm digging in real quick.
Sure.
But that's the reason that gets me up every day and makes me go to work, because I want to provide those businesses with an opportunity to expand. For example, we have a client out in Apache Junction that has grown to the point where they're able to expand to another property. They were able to purchase that property. Now they're expanding their operations, which means increasing revenue for them, hiring more employees, more tax dollars for that town. And that's just one example of many, of course, but that's something that gets us up every day. Like, it makes me want to go to work.
Yeah.
It's the why behind everything. And how we do all that, that's the story we got to tell today, right?
Sure.
But how it all got started, I was doing marketing, just kind of like a B2B type marketing, but it was almost, if you want to call it, door to door. The exact industry was medical sales, right? So I was going into certain offices for attorneys or doctors and trying to build relationships.
Sure.
And the goal in mind was to increase leads for an imaging company that did MRIs. And so go into those doctors' offices, those attorneys' offices with the goal in mind to generate more leads for that imaging clinic. Now, the niche was, these were supposed to be from auto accidents. Okay. And so the key with that is, the reasoning behind that, of course, is they pay better.
Sure.
They are more enticing for everybody. You're in the insurance world. You do commercial, but yet you kind of understand.
There's a lot of money behind it.
Yeah, there's a lot of money behind that. So that's what I was doing for a while. And I built some great relationships through that. And one attorney in particular ended up meeting his digital marketer. And through that, started building a relationship with that digital marketer. Come to find out, wow, this is amazing stuff. Love it. I can see how it's, helpful for the client, because they have to show up. They have to generate leads on the internet. And it's something that I felt really aligned with the way I work.
Thanks for sharing how you got started with everything. Tell us, without giving the secret sauce away, when I think of like I guess when you think about Google, right? And it's just this huge beast. Well, all I'm looking for is, does Home Depot have this specific thing? Or where can I get a quality XYZ, right? So can you break down that process for us? I guess we would call that like the lead generation process. What does that look like specifically for maybe a small business? I know that in my business, just here in the East Valley or in Arizona in general, I mean, you throw a rock, you're gonna hit either a real estate agent or an insurance agent.
Right.
And so I've had other marketing companies tell me, don't even try. This is, it'd be a waste of money, those types of things. So what can a small business do, whether it's in a populated market or in a very narrow market? What can a small business do to start generating those digital leads?
Yeah. I think what it comes down to, before you even decide to go all in generating those digital leads, is to do the research, do the homework, right? And that's one of the first steps we'll take, besides like, finding out the needs of the prospect, like what is it, what their goals are they wanting to generate more leads of a certain service? Are they actually creating an additional line of service for their business that they want to then generate more leads for, or are they opening a brand new location? So really, we kind of start at the baseline of, let's do some homework, find out what the goals are, what the purpose is, and then from there we go to work and do a lot of diligence. So we don't just say yes to a client that says, hey, I want to expand my location. I'm going to open up a new dentist office in Casa Grande, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's do some homework. I can already probably say, and you can too, there's a demand for that.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
But we still have to know how much demand.
Okay.
So that's when we go back and do some research to really find out how much demand is there. So that equates to like search volume. That's one of the metrics we use, how much search volume there is. Then we cross-reference some of that research with how much competition is there in the area. Okay? Also, we look at what's the cost to advertise, right? So from that, we can then get a picture of knowing, is there a sweet spot of there's enough volume, but it's not too competitive, okay? And if it is, there's enough volume, but it's too competitive, then we can have that discussion with the prospect at that time. Be like, okay, well,
is there other stuff that they could do? Like, so if it's saturated, and they say, okay, and sounds like to me you would come back and say, first page of Google might be tough.
Well, yes, exactly. Set expectations. So with that being said, like, it's going to take longer and it will cost more investment in order to rank within the page one on that topic. So we're not just saying completely no straight out of the gate.
Yeah.
We need to have those conversations to make sure, is this the right path for you? And does it fit within your budget? And if it doesn't, it doesn't, right? It's that simple. There's no harm in that. And I think going back to answer your question is, how can these small businesses really start investing in digital marketing? That comes to like doing the research.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to hurt to have those conversations with either the lead drop or anybody else out there to make sure that you do some homework before you start moving forward.
What is your role in not only with the Google search engine, but then how does that play in with social media and tie together?
Yeah, I think really it comes down to going back to what the client's goals are at that time, right? We've had a client come to us recently and we were doing SEO, Google ads for them and generating leads. It was working well. He's like, hey, what else can we do? Can we do social media? And we do provide those services, right? So paid marketing on social media can work very well for the right industries.
Mm-hmm.
But for his industry in particular, which I will mention is property appraisals.
Okay.
It didn't make sense. And I told him that. I was like, look, it's not going to make sense for what you do. And
that's more of a relationship type of thing. Go out and make friends with real estate agents or mortgage brokers.
Yes and no. And what I mean by that is the relationships play into that no matter what industry you're in.
Sure.
Right. As you know, with your industry, commercial insurance, relationships do matter.
Absolutely.
But just like that's one arm of your marketing strategy. The other arm, especially for your case, or even for this property appraiser, is to generate leads inbound from digital marketing, right? So there's a demand for that. We know that. There's people who need, whether it's like a date of death appraisal, it's because of divorce, attorneys need that. It could be certain situations where they just need to know what their home is worth, decide whether or not to do home upgrades, things like that. So there's a variety of reasons why they might go to Google and search for, appraiser near me or appraiser Scottsdale, whatever it is. But going back to when we're doing our research, let's think about what the consumer's intents or the kind of the buying signals are as somebody that's needing a property appraisal. They usually are in a buying cycle that's very short, right? It's not going to be
and specific.
It's very specific, right? It's short, specific, and it's going to occur very few times in their life, right? Mm-hmm. So with all of those things being said, if you're going to push out advertisements on social media to an audience you think is going to be your potential lead or prospect, you're kind of shooting random bullets.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Opposed to with Google or search engine marketing, you're pulling in people who are actively searching for what you do and where you do it.
Okay, so let me reset here. How's a lead generated in a search engine?
Yeah, good question. So start with the funnel, right? And so the lead generation starts with, you've got a website, you have basically your content and your ad copy, whatever it is that actually matches then when somebody goes to the internet and searches. So Google's job is to match those two things together.
Okay.
Google would not be in business if they if they did not match or give an answer to the consumer, which you and I are consumers. We go to Google. I go to Google a lot. I'm sure you do too.
Yep.
And why do you go there? To get an answer.
Yeah.
Okay. So Google's job is to provide the best answer possible to the person searching, the consumer, you and I.
That sounds to me like you need to have your website, keywords on your website really honed into what your message is.
It's one of a couple hundred different.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's like here, and there's a lot more.
Got it.
That.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Which we can spend another hour and a half talking about that, but we'll save the audience for that. Yeah. So of course, like Google then is within milliseconds matching the websites they crawl to see if one of those websites can then give an answer to the consumer's question. Okay. And that those answers come in three formats primarily. One is those sponsored or Google ads. Okay. It's a great source, and we'll get into to why it's also not a great source of leads in a minute. The next is your map results. So especially important for service industries or any kind of brick and mortars to be able to show up in map results. And then next is what we call organic. You might call it SEO, same thing, but basically it's the section underneath the maps that then show those results, like 1, 2, 3, and the consumer, you or I, can then choose which website do we want to click on that best, we think from all the headlines, the best match or gives us the answer we're looking for. And that's when the lead generation really starts. Yeah. It could go south real quick.
Sure.
From there, like if your website isn't optimized for mobile, like it depends upon the industry, but let's just kind of put out a blanket statement that about 2/3 of people are now searching on cell phones.
Yeah.
Right. And from there, is your website optimized to actually work correctly on a mobile device? Is the content within the frame? Can you actually click on a phone number to call? So certain things like that. There's a lot more you can do with conversions and making sure that you have everything optimized to be able to have certain call to actions that resonate with somebody. It all depends again upon the industry. Like for insurance companies, there's a lot of regulations on things they can't say too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to be honest, again, we have to customize.
Yeah, you can't make promises or warrants or anything like that.
Right. So
okay, so someone throws out a search term, it hits that. Now they're either on your website or they've gone to Google Maps. They know where you're at. They've got your contact information. How do you track all that?
Simply, like the number one way to track that is Google Analytics. It's now called GA4. Google. If one thing we know about Google or even Facebook, which is Meta Ads now, which kind of clues into what I'm about to say, is they love changing the name of things. Yeah. Right. So Google Ads used to be Google AdWords. Yeah. Facebook Ads is now Meta Ads. So it's like they're always changing things, and doesn't matter to digital marketers what the name is. The process is going to be the same. Okay. Right. And that goes back to like, let's do our diligence, do our research to find out, is there a demand for what you're trying to generate more leads for? what the cost is, and does it really kind of hit that sweet spot for you as a business owner to say, yeah, I want to invest X amount of money with the potential of Y amount of leads.
Sure.
Yep.
So once you have all of that analytics, can you then hone in on either your message, your audience, maybe heck, even like a zip code, or say, I would like homeowners between 25 and 47 in this specific area or region?
Yes, and there's more to that. Yes.
Okay.
Meaning, like, with websites, you can't necessarily, you don't want to narrow it down as much to be that specific, because
Okay.
you really want to pull in a wider range of audience.
Sure.
Basically, if somebody's searching for your service and they're in your area, you want to bring them into your website. It's not going to cost you any extra from a perspective of SEO in
Mm-hmm.
order to bring in that wide range of audience. Okay. Now with Google ads, that's, so you're now paying for advertising,
Yeah.
or even Facebook ads. That's when you want to narrow down your audience. And not to give any away of our secret sauce here, but I can tell you, if anybody's a digital marketer, they probably already know this. It's a lot easier to waste money on advertising than it is to spend money the right way.
I will tell you, I think probably the fastest way I've ever spent $250 was on Facebook advertising. And I tried a few different things. I tried just a few sentences.
Sure.
Then I tried a video. Then I tried like a stock image, and nothing really seemed to hit, so to speak. And I feel like I was just on the app or in front of my computer just watching, like, the pool of money just tick away.
Yeah.
Every time someone was scrolling through, it was like, there's my cup out of the bucket, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah.
And it was like, you've reached your budget. Would you like to continue? And it was like, oh, but I don't have any results.
Right.
And so I remember how disappointed I was. I was doing it on my own, and I was brand new in a saturated market. But it seems to me, especially when you talk about sponsored ads, and I'd like to talk about sponsored ads, like specifically like in a search engine setting.
Sure.
But it seems to me that you've got to really be backing yourself up with analytics to really hone that stuff in. That way you're not peeing in the ocean
Right.
and dumping your bucket of money out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So what does that look like when you're actively engaged in Google AdWords or Google Ads or social media ads? What does that look like to the end user?
Yeah. The end user being the business owner.
The business owner themselves, yeah.
What that looks like is understanding their business needs. I mean, I mentioned that before, but I'm gonna go back to that again. Like, you brought up how Facebook ads didn't work for you. It didn't give you the results that you wanted, but what were the results that you expected? Were they phone calls?
I think
form submission?
I think at the time I probably expected everybody that scrolled through to stop, immediately listen to what I was saying, read the
Right.
entire thing,
Yeah.
and then call me immediately.
Right.
Which, now looking back, is absolutely absurd. So maybe I'm off in the sense of, like, should I expect out of XYZ number of views this many leads, or at least this many reach outs or engagements, whatever you call it, as far as my expectations go.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
Yeah, the research will tell us what the expectation should be, right? And going back to the Google Ads question, what this looks like for the end user is we're on the same page with our owner, business owner that we're working with. Sometimes we work with a marketing team. Most often it's business owner if it's a small business, but
Sure.
we're on the same page of what is a lead to you. So this is kind of a part of our intake process, right? What is a lead to you? Is it somebody who submits a contact form? It's pretty low level, right?
Okay.
Or is it somebody who even high intent, somebody who picks up the phone and calls you. And if that's the case, that's again the highest intent type lead. We now have ways to track each of those, right? And everything in between. There could be chats. There could be maybe some unique landing page that has a contact form, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's many different ways. It could be a purchase, if it's e-commerce, things like that. So there's many different ways to track what a lead is. At the end of the day, for the most common use case, probably for small business owners and maybe your audience, it's going to be a phone call. That's going to be the best lead. Okay. And the way we have learned along the way is it's been over 8 years since we started doing this. It's not about the quantitative metrics, it's about the qualitative metrics. And what I mean by that is quantitatively, I can show a report to an owner that says, yeah, you got 42 calls last month. And then they can come back to me and say, well, yeah, but I only got 2 leads. Like really, like they were only 2 people who actually wanted an estimate, and only one of them really closed. And so that's when you got to look. Let's look at that real quick. Okay, let's dig in there. So we're in the business of not just getting people's phones to ring. We're in the job, of course. The why we talked about this early on is to help them generate revenue, sales, expand their business, hire more employees, XYZ, right? So now we have to look at those qualitative factors to decide, like, are the calls or form submissions, whatever they are, that come in, are those really qualified leads now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we're kind of getting into the marketing and sales lingo at this point, which doesn't, we don't need to get into the weeds with business owners about to have them on the structure of, you have to talk like a marketing team, you have to talk like a sales team, but we have to make sure we're on the same page of what's a qualified lead for you, what's not. And of course, we have ways to actually track the revenue generated from those leads. And these are things that could be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet. I kid you not.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be fancy like a $300, $600 a month CRM. That's possibly can do that way too.
Yeah.
But it could be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet that, as long as somebody on the business side of things, their end, are actually inputting the data, that we can then be able to know, like, from this amount of spend, we got this amount of leads, and this amount was generated revenue. Now we're actually talking about ROI, and that's the kind of the information I think any business owner, small or big, wants to know.
It seems to me that, like, at least in that digital world, the term ROI doesn't often come up. I think a lot of marketers aren't looking at backing into that number.
Yeah.
That's did you get someone to sign up? Lowest level, right? Did they reach out and call you? And then it seems like it might even stop right there. Like,
usually,
well, that's your lead. There you go. You're welcome, Mr. Business Owner. Versus, did we convert this? How much revenue did it actually bring in?
Yep.
And what does that look like for the business? Because it might not just be that. It could be, are you tracking, like, well, I guess, so what degree are you tracking that to? If someone Googles you, finds you, and you make $1,000 on that, but then they refer to your brother and you make another $1,000, that, to me, I think doubles that spend.
Sure. Yeah, and word of mouth offline conversions are a lot more detailed to track. Sometimes possible, sometimes not. But there's never going to be perfect, right?
Sure.
But I'll go back to kind of what you talked about just a minute ago. Is I used to be that digital marketer. It was like, hey, we got you this many form submissions, this many leads. Yay, thumbs up.
Yay.
But then, have these conversations. There's attrition, and the client doesn't want to stay with us. And I was like, what's going on here?
Are we converting?
Yeah, I'm converting those. And that is like the number one word of advice to business owners out there. Answer your damn phones, right? No matter what you're doing, whether you're just doing networking, whether you're actually paying for advertising, that's even worse if you don't answer your phone, but just answer your damn phone, please. And if you're a solopreneur, you're owner operator, find somebody to help you. It doesn't have to be paid. It could be
your kid.
Well, it depends upon the kid. But it could be obviously, somebody, a stay-at-home mom or dad,
Sure.
right? Help out with phones. Could be a family friend. Could be a family member. Whatever it is, like there's ways that when we use call tracking software, that's how we're able to actually
Okay.
know where these calls are coming in from, and then we have somebody on our team that's a marketing analyst that actually listens to the calls and then qualifies them as, yeah, it's a lead, or no, it wasn't. It was just somebody trying to sell us something. That
Got it.
happens. Vendors call.
Interesting.
But point in all that is that we want to make sure that the business owners, like, we keep track of that. Like, you had this amount of calls that were not answered, and we're not doing that in a way to shame the business owner, but like, hey, that's going to be a problem one of these
Right.
days. Is when you're going to come to us and say, Brandon, it's not working. Well, let's kind of unravel that a little bit.
Versus we know that if you answer your phone, you've got a 33% chance, but you're missing 7 calls a day,
Exactly.
which means you could have had 2 more deals a day.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's that simple. I mean, but we're not in the job to be sales consultants either. But at the same time, too, I want to provide a little bit more value than most
Yeah.
marketing agencies will, and consult, have these conversations, and not in a way to again, we're not shaming the owner or the whoever it is that's supposed to be answering the phones, but we've had these conversations where it was a bigger sized business and they had a whole sales team, and I'm like talking to the CMO, I was like, this is what's going on. We're missing this amount of calls. Like, where's there a break in the process? What's going on here? Like, I don't want you to go out and punitively attack your sales
Yeah.
team. Like, let's figure out what's going on here. Is there
Right.
another way we can roll
Is
over?
there a sales meeting happening between 10 and 11
Exactly.
that's where we're getting most of the calls that are being missed or something like
And
that?
and you know what? There's a solution for that.
Right.
There's many.
Move the meeting,
Yeah, move.
or have somebody not a part of the meeting answer the call.
Roll over the phones. Exactly.
Yeah.
The call tracking software we use allows for that. You can actually set it up to ring multiple numbers at once. So it's
Wow.
like, hey, first one to get it.
Sure.
It could be that if you don't answer within 4 rings, you can set up 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
whatever. Or if it goes to voicemail, then it rolls over to somebody else. And there's definitely different ways to customize it, but there should be no reason for the most
Somebody
part.
misses the lead, so to
lead.
speak.
Yep.
What about like a landing page, right? So if I wanted to create a campaign, for this month only, we're doing this, go to this website, and then that's going to be like that one pager where you're either going to purchase it, subscribe to it, leave your information in there. But and then I guess a follow-up question to that is, I've seen a lot of, like, if I've ordered something from Facebook, I got something, I'm bald, and should turn off my phones because they listen to me, but shaving my head,
Uh-huh.
right? So for a year, everything that I was scrolling through was shave your head with this, shave your head with that, and it's all these electronic shavers. I don't really care for electronic shavers. I bought one though. Why? Just almost because it had built so much curiosity in me. But when it was like, okay, get this electronic shaver. Oh, by the way, do you want the razors with it? Do you want a razor subscription? So every 3 months you get a new box of razors. Oh, and then by the way, do you want the comb accessory? And then
Yeah.
it's always adding these upsell. And so are you building campaigns like that?
So yeah, what we're talking about there is more kind of your e-commerce,
Got it.
right? And although we do e-commerce, I'm going to answer this for the audience, which I think is more
Yeah.
your business to business, business to consumer type of business, not e-commerce. If they're in here, that's fine too. But what I'm saying is that you were part of an audience that had seen a number of different ads for the same product from different business owners. And what had happened there is that you didn't make the purchase first day. Okay. So now they're showing you those ads multiple times, because we all know you don't buy after the first time you see an advertisement. It takes about 7+ times before you actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing with like a cold call.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Multiple times. And then if you go to the landing page and let's say you don't take action, whether it's you don't make a phone call, you don't submit a chat or a form submission, whatever it is, then you're going to probably start to be part of their retargeting audience. Okay. And now they're going to send you out a different offer. Okay, well, we got him to our landing page because of a ad about electric razors and how they're the best. We have the best electric razors, titanium. Yeah, they last forever. 5-star reviews, yada yada yada. But you went to the website and it didn't convert. All right, well now let's send this guy a new ad. Let's try something different. So that's the retargeting piece, right? Now let's send him an offer of, hey, we get 20% off if you purchase an electric razor in the month of September. Okay. Now you've clicked on that link, you've gone back, but it didn't work, right? Now you're probably getting those emails in your inbox, which is a whole different. Like, we're talking about omni-channel marketing.
Yeah.
And omni-channel marketing is like gold if you can get there as a business owner to be able to market to your audience on different platforms, omni-channel, right?
Okay.
And that's where you're advertising on search engines, you're advertising on social media, email marketing. You basically
bringing it all together.
Yeah, there's many more I'm not even digging into right now, but point is, the more visibility you have on a variety of channels or platforms, at that point, you now have more market share, less that your competition has. Yeah, right.
What are some? Let's say either. I don't like the word free.
Okay.
But let's say inexpensive or low cost or at no cost. Free meaning little to no value. But
Yeah.
like let's say no cost to a business owner, something that they could immediately get their business to start generating a lead today.
Sure.
In a digital sense.
Yeah. I'll let you know that question is really a grenade, because generating leads today is
okay. I won't put the emphasis on that.
Yeah.
Let's just say generating leads quickly or soon,
Yeah.
rather than later.
Yeah.
In that low cost environment.
Yeah. I think it comes down to the business owner has to put in some sweat equity into their own business,
Sure.
right? And I know they do. Like especially like a landscaper, they're sweating out there. They're putting in the work. But what that landscaper might have to do after they put away their lawnmower, they put the truck behind the gate at night, lock it up, they've got to spend time then on marketing at nighttime, right? And so they're working the candle on both ends. But what they can do in that time is there's plenty of ways they can generate a very simple website for free. And it's not going to be the highest end. It's not going to have custom features. It may even say powered by whatever free software they're choosing.
Sure.
At the bottom, and whatever, that's fine. But those are some things they could do which are free to little no cost. The cost being very minimal at that point. They're doing the work themselves, and just like if I do my own landscaping, it's not going to look as good.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, too, it's better than nothing. If I don't do my own landscaping and let the yard go crazy for a year and a half, and it's going to look really bad. So that's kind of the advice I would give to business owners: is at least start with something as simple as a website that covers.
Even if it's a single page,
even if
it
it's
just has a logo and maybe your phone.
Yeah, you can AI generate a logo for free if you want to.
Wow.
That simple. And then from there, you can pull off free pictures from the internet. Like they're licensed. You can actually get free licensed images, or use your own even better if you have them.
Yeah.
iPhones, Androids take great photos these days.
Yeah, they film movies on
They do, yeah. And then keep it simple. Like if you're just trying to get your foot in the door, start off, generate some leads. Basically talk about why choose your business, right? Talk about what solutions you provide, like kind of what services, right? You want to provide a solution to a customer, and that's what that is. And from there, also what areas you might serve, and some value propositions, right? We won't get into the weeds of what a value proposition is, what a unique selling proposition is. But that's when, as a business owner, you either pay a marketing company like us to help you identify that, or you go to YouTube, all right, or Google, and like, hey, what are some examples of unique selling propositions?
I would consider myself definitely like a YouTube warrior when it comes to those types of things, but those are all like value propositions. I mean, mission statements. Those are all areas in which you are helping your clients.
We don't get into mission statements at all.
Okay.
Because that in itself expands above and beyond marketing. You can use that as a marketing tool, but that is more business infrastructure and operations related than it is marketing.
Okay. I was confusing it because I use my mission statement as my marketing statement.
Right. Not everybody does, right?
Yeah.
But for a landscaper, we want to make sure that getting back to some things they can do at low cost or for free is to generate reviews, right? Trustworthiness. Okay. You want to be credible, and Google wants that too, right? So recently I was choosing a painting company and looking at multiple different companies, as I recommend even for our own prospects to do. I'm sure you do too. Like I got to get a quote from multiple companies.
Keep them honest.
Yeah. We ended up choosing a Gilbert Chamber of Commerce member. We're members ourselves, and of course want to pay it forward, but at the same time too, want to get those estimates, just do our diligence. And one of those painters that we got an estimate from, they dropped a card off at our door one day, which is fine. It still happens, still works. I was like, I'll call them, whatever, what the heck, why not? They put in the work to drop off these cards. I'll see if they're any. Now, I'm looking online, doing my own homework, like, what kind of reviews do they have? Do they have a website and whatnot? And I'll be nice and I won't say too much, but I'll say that they didn't have any reviews on Google. They had one-star review on Yelp. And immediately, as a consumer on my end, I'm like, my trust to spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 in this company has gone
way low,
right out the door.
Yeah.
Not even look up if they are an ROC, registered contractor.
Yeah.
I didn't look that up either. I could have if I wanted to, but I stopped right there. I was like,
right.
I've seen enough. And I'll go back to that. I'm using Landscaper, for example, but go out and get those reviews to build your trust factor. And getting reviews is something you can do for free, for cheap. Like your client base, after you finish that job, be like, hey, here's a link to my Google My Business, and you can Google how to do that. There's literally instructions on how to link directly to leave a review on your Google My Business. I'm going to text it to you. Please leave me a review.
Wow.
And of course, that's free. It doesn't cost you a dime as a business owner. All you're doing is
those Google reviews are going to determine Google's decision, but also sway somebody one way or another.
Yeah, it is, again, one of a couple hundred different factors on whether or not you rank on Google.
Sure.
It's not the end all be all, but it won't do any harm, right? It'll actually need an assistance if you have all these other factors going for you from a ranking factor. But again, reviews, don't focus on those for sole purpose of SEO, but they help. Again, what you really want to focus on is a small business, because as a landscaper, when you get somebody that is spent time and money and effort to get them to your website or to get them interested in your services, you want to build that trust, and that's one way to do it through Google reviews.
What is something that we haven't talked about that you're currently doing with your clients that you think is important? We talked about the who, what, where, when, and why of that web presence and driving leads, and what you can do at a low cost or a no cost alternative. But how can somebody utilize your services, set themselves up for success? Because I imagine this is a building process. And we've already talked about that. But what are your expectations of the business owner when you start working with them? And then what haven't we talked about that you're also actively engaged with your clients?
Sure, sure. For that question of expectations of client is just to make sure that we understand what the expected outcome of all this is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that we're on the same page from the start. Now, goals can shift, and they do, but we have to make sure that our intent behind this marketing campaign, behind this lead generation, that it makes sense, it's logical, it's going to be something that has potential for ROI. And as long as the business owner and myself are on the same page from the start on that, that's a recipe for success.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from that point is now we have to communicate. Two-way street. We have to be a source of communicating data and research reports, all this. But before we even do that, we have to understand what the client wants, right? Some clients they don't want to know the minutia of, hey, my rankings went up by 14% this month. What they want to know is, how many more calls did I get? So again,
Sure.
Going back to that is let's make sure that we're on track for what your expectations are. Having said all that, is some things that we do for clients that we haven't already talked about is we'll have those in-depth conversations about where we're seeing those revenue numbers from certain campaigns, right? We might say, okay, well, from this channel, whether it's, let's say Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, we saw X amount of revenue generated from Y amount of spend. But with Google Ads, we saw data that actually tells us we need to pull back a little bit more on those the social media ads, mm-hmm. and take that money to then spend more on Google Ads. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's I think where we haven't really talked much about that, but I think that's a differentiator for us is we'll treat that marketing budget as if it's our own.
Sure.
And making sure that we're maximizing the value for that client.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely appreciate that. I mean, I remember spending dollars early on in Prosperity North's life of oh my gosh, I just went through this and I've really nothing to show for it, or I don't know where to pivot from here.
Sure.
So I think that's awesome. Brandon, leave us with we talked about value propositions. Give me your value proposition. Give me your elevator pitch. What would you like to leave with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the value propositions for us is going to be we're going to do the research up front. We already talked about this ad nauseum, but I will repeat that as a value proposition because that's what it is. Like, we'll do the research up front. I've recently, or even in the past few years, have honed that down to know what those sweet spots are of what's the right amount of search volume or interest in a certain service, mm-hmm. and then what that cost per click is or whatever it is, to find out, okay, it's really like we've got an opportunity here, or we don't. And
right,
I've told clients or prospects rather before that it's not going to make sense for you to spend money doing this because there's just not enough volume for it. And that's simple. It's being honest, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of businesses, not just marketing companies out there, but plenty of businesses who will just take money when somebody says, "Hey, I want this. Can you give it to me?" And
it's and then they'll eventually figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then kind of getting toward the unique selling proposition. One thing we do for certain industries is we'll actually start the campaign, build out landing page, but not charge them at all until they get 3 qualified leads.
Oh, wow.
That's huge, right? Like I've done it the old way where we'll charge you from day one, and then
almost like set up a retention or I don't even know, what would a lawyer call it?
Yeah,
is it a retention?
Yeah. But so what we're doing there is there's that cost work it costs the lead drop money to do that.
Sure.
but at the same time too, we want to earn the trust of that business to show them there is value in what we're recommending and that it will work. Okay. And so once they find out that those 3 leads are actually tangible, yeah, they came in, at that point, what they're now bought into the process, right? Okay. The lead drop actually
Right, it works.
knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It works. And at that point we're, humming along. I think that's unique to where a lot of marketing companies don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. I can recall being with let's say a national or at least a regional digital marketing and writing a big check only for them to come back to me and say, well, that check's gone. Like and here's why it's gone.
Gotcha.
And now we need more.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but we just got started here.
Yeah.
And so I remember it's almost a kick in the stomach. It'll take the breath out of the excitement, so to speak.
Yeah. So they charge you retainer up
A
front
retainer up front, yeah.
and then said, hey, you're 10, 20, whatever it was.
And it was more about driving to the website. It was a lot of website analytical stuff.
Sure.
And which, I mean, I guess that's all well and good. Of, hey, fill out your information here. But again, when we talked about this in the beginning, that's where it stopped.
Mm.
And I thought that wasn't the complete vision of it.
Sure.
And me as some guy sitting in his home office trying to sell insurance, that wasn't where I needed to be.
Absolutely.
But I really, really appreciate your approach and how you've done it. I thank you for your time and coming in. I've been you started with some very kind words, and I appreciate that. And the more and more I get to know you and your process, I really I highly recommend you and what you're doing. And so everybody go check out Brandon Drake from the Lead Drop. Brandon, I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Very fun.
Absolutely. If you'd like to be featured on Casey's Corner, please like, subscribe, share this video. Thanks very much. Have a great day.